he doesn't get first downs with his legs. See, that's specific.
I think you see playmaking ability. I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there.
A Hall of Fame left tackle just went on national shows twice and told the world that Shedeur Sanders cannot get first downs with his legs. Not once, twice. And here is the problem. The stats say the opposite. The tape says the opposite. And now the head coach of the Cleveland Browns, Todd Monken, is out here building actual run packages around Shedeur and praising his playmaking on camera. So today, we are putting Joe Thomas on trial. The take, the tape, and the truth. Let's get into it. Let me set the scene for you, because this is not some random blogger taking shots. This is Joe Thomas. 10 straight Pro Bowls, over 10,000 consecutive snaps, a first ballot Hall of Famer, and honestly one of the most respected film minds to ever come out of Cleveland. When Joe Thomas talks about offensive football, people listen. And that is exactly why this matters. Because on 2 separate shows, Joe Thomas said basically the same thing about Shedeur Sanders. He said Shedeur is not the type of quarterback who is going to get first downs with his legs. And look, if he had stopped at "he's not Lamar Jackson," nobody would be making this video. That would be fair. Shedeur does not make his money as a designed runner, and nobody serious is claiming he does. His bread is buttered in the pocket, reading the field, extending plays. But Joe went further than that. He got specific. He said Shedeur does not get first downs with his legs. And when a Hall of Famer says something specific, it needs to be specifically true. This one is not. To his credit, Joe tried to clean it up in the second appearance. He admitted the arm looks like it is still there. He admitted Shedeur is very good at scrambling to extend plays and throw the football, but he still landed on the same conclusion, not exceptional at using his legs to get a first down. Here is why this matters beyond one man's opinion. Takes like this from voices like Joe Thomas become the national narrative. They get clipped, they get repeated, they end up in draft retrospectives and quarterback competition debates. And right now, with Shedeur in the middle of a real quarterback competition in Cleveland, the story being told about what he can and cannot do actually shapes how people watch him. So before we go to the film and the numbers, I want you to hear it from Joe Thomas himself, both times, word for word. Because I do not want anybody in the comments saying I took this out of context. Listen to exactly what he said, and then we'll check it against reality.
Somebody like Shedeur, who's not going to be getting a lot of first downs with his legs specifically, that is the type of...
So. Now, again, Joe Thomas specifically says Shedeur Sanders not the type. Now, again, Joe Thomas specifically says Shedeur Sanders not the type of guy to get first downs with his legs, right? Now, I'm okay with you saying Shedeur Sanders, he's not Lamar Jackson, he's not an elite weapon with his legs. Okay. That's not where he cut. That's not where he makes his bread anyway. But he doesn't get first downs with his legs. See, that's specific. Joe, I'm going to give you one more time.
Rewind that. He said it twice on 2 different shows. Now watch what the actual film says. Let's go to the tape, because this is where the take starts falling apart in real time. Start with the play against the Bengals rush. Joey Bosa, an Ohio State legend, coming hard off the edge. The tackle gets cracked down, the pocket is caving in, and Gregory Rousseau is pushing the interior at the same time. This is a dead play. This is a sack on the stat sheet for 90% of quarterbacks in this league. And Shedeur turns into Houdini. He ducks, he escapes, and he turns a should-have-been sack into a first down with his legs. Not a throw, his legs. And here is the part people miss. That was not luck. Remember the mic'd up moment with Myles Garrett on the sideline? Shedeur is standing there telling one of the most feared pass rushers on planet Earth, "Hey, if I hit you with that spin move." People laughed. They thought it was trash talk. It was not trash talk. It was a quarterback openly processing his escape options out loud, spin or duck. He was doing the math before the play ever happened. And on the field, he chose duck, and it worked. Then there is the rushing lane play, and honestly, this is my favorite one as a film guy. The pocket is on fire. Most young quarterbacks panic here. They put their head down, climb into the first gap they see, and take the sack. Shedeur keeps his eyes up. He looks at the first lane, passes on it, finds the better lane, and you can see the moment his eyes get big. If you have ever watched a good young running back, you know that look. The eyes go wide because he's not looking at the rush anymore. He's looking at the first down marker. He hits the lane, picks up the first down, takes the hit like a pro. And against the Steelers, same story. Defenders diving, grabbing air. Somebody needs to put a slippery when wet sign on that field because grown NFL players were sniffing the pavement trying to bring them down. Now, nobody, and I mean nobody, is telling you Shedeur Sanders is a rushing weapon like Lamar. That is not the argument. The argument is one specific sentence. He does not get first downs with his legs. And the film shows him doing exactly that, repeatedly against real NFL pressure with intent and awareness. Watch this escape against Bosa and Rousseau and tell me this is a quarterback who cannot move the chains himself.
And that's a first down. Y'all ever get sick of me? Y'all ever get sick of me playing this video? And by the way, I can do it in slow-mo. It might not be a problem. But look at this. They say a lot about his feet. They say a lot about, you know what I'm saying, what he does in the pocket, XYZ. Hey, man, this ain't no bum. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of a dude named Joey Bosa, right? Ohio State legend. I don't know if you ever heard of him, but he's coming hard off the edge here, and he's going to crack down this tackle. And the pocket's collapsing. I believe that's Gregory Rousseau as well, getting a lot of internal pressure as well. And he's just going to, like Houdini, I mean, look how, hey.
It get dangerous.
It get dangerous. Now, this video reminds me of when Shedeur Sanders was on the sideline. Remember when Myles Garrett was mic'd up and, there go a first down. He turned a should have been sack into a first down. This reminds me of when he was on the sidelines talking to Myles Garrett, and he was like, hey, man, if I hit you with that spin move, like, I think people thought he was joking.
The eye test says Joe is wrong, but eye tests can lie. So what do the actual numbers say? Time to get nerdy, because feelings are not facts and highlights are not data. So let's pull the receipts. Number 1, Shedeur Sanders ran for 7 first downs as a rookie. 7. On a limited number of carries, that worked out to a 33% first down rate on his rushes. 1 out of every 3 times this man tucked the ball and ran, the chains moved. Now, is that a huge volume? No. He was a 7-start rookie, not a designated run quarterback. But the specific claim was that he does not get first downs with his legs. 7 first downs is not 0 first downs. The claim is just false. And for context, that 33% rate is efficient. Running backs live around the low 20s on first down because they get 20-plus carries in every situation imaginable. A back like Quinshon Judkins converting around 21% on heavy volume is doing his job. A quarterback converting a third of his scrambles into fresh sets of downs is doing damage. Number 2, and this is the stat I will scream from the rooftops. Over the last 7 weeks of the season, in the game Shedeur started, he was the Cleveland Browns' leading rusher 3 separate weeks. The quarterback, 29 yards one week, 24 yards another, 49 in another. And before you say those numbers are small, look at what was around him. Against Buffalo, the entire rest of the roster combined for 26 rushing yards. Shedeur had 24 by himself. Against Tennessee, in the game where he dropped 364 yards and 4 total touchdowns, the whole team besides him rushed for 32 yards. 32. The run game was a rumor, and the rookie quarterback was the closest thing Cleveland had to one. Now, let me be fair, because I am always going to be fair. That stat is really an indictment of the offensive line, which was falling apart down the stretch. It is not a shot at the running backs. But think about what that means for Joe Thomas's take. Behind a crumbling line, with no run support, defenses teeing off, this so-called non-runner was still finding ways to pick up chunks with his legs when the play broke down. That is not a quarterback who cannot run. That is a quarterback surviving with his legs because he had to. So the tape says he does it. The numbers say he does it efficiently. Now here comes the part that buries this take for good. The man running the entire Cleveland Browns organization is building for it.
Again, this is something y'all probably tired of me saying. But here it is, fully laid out. These are the last 7 weeks of the NFL season and when Shedeur Sanders started for the Browns. Shedeur Sanders was your leading rusher. Again, I've said this 1,000 times. 1, 2, 3 weeks, right? 29 yards, 24 yards, and 49 yards, right? Now, this game against Buffalo, it was a more of a team-oriented attack, right? He had a good, what is that, like a third? I didn't get a degree in math. My degree's in marketing. It's technically business administration. I don't know. I barely know how to use a calculator. But what I do know is that's a lot, right? And I do know, and again, this is not him versus the leading rusher. He's the leading rusher with 24 yards. The entire team had 26 rushing yards besides Shedeur against Buffalo. The entire team besides Shedeur against Tennessee in a game where he put up, what was it, like 400 total yards of offense and 4 total touchdowns. If correct me if I'm wrong there. The team as a whole besides Shedeur Sanders rushed for 32 yards.
Here is my bold claim. Todd Monken did not just disagree with Joe Thomas. He built an offense that proves him wrong. Because here is the thing about head coaches. They don't argue with words. They argue with playbooks. And if you've been watching Browns practice footage this offseason, Todd Monken's playbook is screaming. Shedeur Sanders is out there running quarterback zone, quarterback draw, and the one that got the film nerds like me out of our seats, the quarterback bash. If you do not know the bash, it is one of the coolest modern run concepts in football. It's a counter-style play where the backfield action goes one way and the quarterback keeps it the other way. Pure misdirection, high tempo, the kind of stuff that took over college football and has been bleeding into the NFL for years. Monken has history with these concepts too. He had elements of it in his college offenses, and he coordinated for Lamar Jackson in Baltimore, the most weaponized quarterback run game in football history. Now ask yourself one simple question. Why would Todd Monken, a coach who has seen elite quarterback runners up close, install designed quarterback runs for a player who cannot get first downs with his legs? He wouldn't. Coaches do not waste practice reps on things a player cannot do. Every rep of QB bash Shedeur takes in that competition is Monken casting a vote against Joe Thomas's take. And then Monken said it out loud. Playmaking ability, a player who is confident in his skill set, something to work with there. That is the head coach's scouting report. And he went even further, and this is the quote that should make every Browns fan sit up. He said Shedeur is a very young player who did not grow up in a pro-style offense and that it is not his fault. Then he said it's going to be our fault if we can't develop him. That is a head coach putting the responsibility on his own staff. Some people are in the player development business, and some people are in the throwing players under the bus business. Monken just told you which one he's in. And Shedeur is meeting him halfway. The off-season footage shows him running with the running backs, working with Amani, grinding to get leaner and faster. The legs that people downplayed all through the draft process are getting sharper, not slower. So you have the player putting in the work, the scheme being installed to use it, and the head coach publicly backing the skill set. The only person left standing on the other side of this argument is a retired left tackle with a take that is aging worse by the week. Listen to Monken yourself.
Anyway, how do you feel, Todd Monken? How you feel?
I think you see playmaking ability. I think you see a player that is confident in his skill set. So when you see that playmaking ability and inner confidence, you say, okay, there's something to work with there. So that, I think that's the thing that excites you. But I do think what you see on tape are those aspects. A very young player that really didn't grow up in a pro-style offense. It's not his fault. Now it's going to be our fault if we can't develop them. Then it's our fault. It's our job to do.
Reality check. A Hall of Famer said he can't do it. The head coach is literally installing plays that require him to do it. Only one of them controls the depth chart. So let's put the whole case on the table. The claim, Joe Thomas, a legitimate Hall of Famer and one of the smartest offensive linemen of his generation, said twice that Shedeur Sanders does not get first downs with his legs. The tape, Shedeur ducking Joey Bosa and turning a certain sack into a first down. Shedeur keeping his eyes up under pressure, passing on the bad lane, hitting the right one and moving the chains. Shedeur making Steelers defenders grab grass. Shedeur telling Myles Garrett his escape plan before it happened. The numbers: 7 rushing first downs as a rookie at a 33% conversion rate. The team's leading rusher in 3 of his 7 starts. 24 yards by himself against Buffalo when the whole rest of the roster managed 26. All of it behind an offensive line that was collapsing. The coach, Todd Monken, installing QB zone, QB draw, and QB bash for him, praising his playmaking and his confidence on camera, and putting the development burden on his own staff instead of on the kid. Joe Thomas is still a legend. He handled DeMarcus Ware, Prime Von Miller, and J.J. Watt at the highest level for a decade, and nothing in this video changes that. But legends can be wrong. I have been wrong. I was wrong about Tyler Show. It happens. And on this one specific claim, Joe Thomas is categorically wrong. And here's the bigger picture. This is not really about one take from one Hall of Famer. It's about a pattern. All through the draft process, people downplayed Shedeur's athleticism, and one by one, the tape, the stats, and now his own head coach keep pushing back on it. The quarterback competition in Cleveland is real, and the version of Shedeur showing up to it is leaner, faster, and playing in a scheme built to use his legs, not hide them. If the league keeps grading him off old narratives instead of current film, they're going to keep being surprised. So now I want to hear from you. Was Joe Thomas just flat out wrong about Shedeur's legs, or was he right and the sample size is fooling us? Drop your answer in the comments, smash like and subscribe. Be great, be beautiful, and be blessed.